Hello, everyone, and welcome to Proposals That Win Big. And I'm excited to be here. I'm excited that you are choosing to join me on this lovely Friday. It's been a crazy week. I had a speaking event this morning and a speaking event yesterday, and today I'm doing a webinar. And well, here we are. We're going to learn a lot of stuff today. Also, I have my big giant water bottle. I used to think people that had these big giant water bottles, or water bottles were it was just kind of annoying but I realized you drink more water when you have a bigger water bottle. If you found that to be the case, put a comment in the chat. Um, the bigger the water bottle seems, the more water I drink. Also, I realized as an adult, water is the most adult beverage that there is. Um, yeah. So, anyways, on to water, off of water. All right, let's jump into our presentation. Let's talk through things. So, if you have questions or comments throughout, go ahead and put them in the comments. I'll be monitoring those, and then at the end, I can jump in and give you any advice or any thoughts on ways that you can also increase and build up your proposal win rate. Okay, sound good? All right, let's do it. All right, so first thing we're going to be doing here is we're going to be talking about the first part of this presentation. So my goal is to spend the next 60 minutes showing you how to write winning proposals for large projects. The idea here is that you want to build trust and lead clients to say yes without overwhelming them with unnecessary details. So the idea is that this is a presentation today is just is also a hint on how my business helps people. So if I go on a little bit, my company, I work with service-based companies, helping them win more clients and then operate better. So if you have interest in that, make sure you hit me up. Okay, so type a 1 in the chat if you are in sales or marketing as a career. Type a 2 if you're a founder who spends a lot of time on sales and marketing. And type a 3 if you're an employee who helps out in the sales and marketing, maybe the proposal creation side, maybe you're in solutions or solution engineering. Let me know. It'll give me an idea on kind of how to steer some of my ad-libbing to this presentation. So it's also helpful if you join in and let me know where you're at. So, okay, moving on. As I mentioned, I do and run a business called Schmidt Consulting, and we help service-based companies. And kind of the tagline, today's tagline is get more clients from your content. And speaking of content, I also do a podcast called Schmidt List. If you haven't heard of it, it is one of the longest running podcasts in leadership and technology in the Twin Cities, over 280 plus episodes. And I also have been fortunate enough to help my last company land on the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies list 2 years in a row. So I exited that business at the beginning of this year, and now I'm doing consulting and coaching, which I'm really enjoying. So we're going to go through a few things today. So number 1, how to stage a proposal to win, how to format, and then how to follow up on these proposals. And then I have some bonus content for people who are joining me live. And that is, I'm going to go over some best practices for invoicing, which if you are someone in here who does run a business, I think you'll really like this. And I stole it from a really smart guy. So stay tuned for that. Okay. All right, let's jump in. And again, let me put a reminder. If you have questions or comments or things you'd like me to address, go ahead and put them in as we're going through the presentation here, because I want to keep it fun and want to keep it spicy. Okay, make sure put it in the comments. Okay, all right. So proposals honestly aren't not where deals are closed. Okay, they're usually just the documentation of what you hopefully have already agreed upon. I have a good mentor that always said never write proposals, only write contracts, because the idea is that you have already discovered everything that you're going to do. You've already agreed upon it. You've agreed upon the output, the deliverables, the timeline, and the price. Now, I get it. This is the real world. Sometimes you can't do all those things. So that's why we're going to go through proposals today and not just cut it with, hey, don't write proposals, write contracts. So that real work happens in the discovery time. And so if you're someone that charges for discovery, it's a little different than it was a few years ago. A few years ago, you used to be able to charge for discovery. These days, it's much more difficult to charge for discovery. So you've got to get more creative. And that'll be another webinar in the future that I'll go into more details on that. But you should spend as much time up front as possible. And clients these days are not expecting to pay for extensive discovery. And you've got to be careful with how you're formatting that. One of the things early on a few years ago we changed is we used to do these audits for people, and we used to promote these as audits. And people just, who wants to pay for something like, hey, I know you already have a bunch of problems, pay me and I will hand you a bunch more problems to solve. How would you like that? Would you like to pay for that? Would you? No, you wouldn't. Okay, so we changed it to strategic planning. I know it sounds simple, but it's a big deal because for years and years and years we've used the term audit and found success with it, but not anymore. The proposal really should be this afterthought because they should already be sold on the solution. It's a formality just to get everything in place. And think of it this way: a proposal is usually just a stab in the dark, while a contract is an agreed upon document. Okay, there's a big difference here. So when we're talking about writing proposals versus writing contracts, we want to make sure that we are writing contracts as much as possible. But I get it. Sometimes we're going to have to write proposals, and that's why we're talking today. So if you've already, gone down the road with the client that they're expecting a proposal, it's okay. I've got some great tips for you on how that's going to work. And some companies require you to do a proposal, and I'll talk a bit about that as well. But your goal really here is to focus on getting to a contract. Okay. And how do we do that? Well, we're going to talk through a few of those things. Okay. So number one is understanding their procurement process. So as we are going through, you're really smart folks. Okay. You're all great at what you do. You know how to discover what's happening. You know how to understand what they are trying to accomplish, what the client's trying to accomplish. Oh, they want a new website. Okay, we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do this. And then I can put together a proposal pretty quickly. Or they want some coaching, or they're looking for an executive to join their team. I can put together this contract pretty quickly. If it's a new client, the one thing that you want to spend some time during that discovery is understanding how their procurement and approval processes work. This is something that gets missed a lot because a lot of people just assume everybody works the same. Is that I write a proposal, I send it to you, you sign it, it comes back, and it's all good. But making sure that right up front, as you're talking through the client, through that proposal process of how approvals happen, how procurement prefers these things. I work with a client currently where I have to send them a proposal and it has to be in a Word doc because they take my document and then they put it into their own proposal or their own contract, which has all the legalese and stuff that they require surrounding that. And then we both execute on that document. So these are common practices. Okay. But that's why you really want to make sure you're having those conversations up front before you're doing any of this work to create proposals. And here's the other great thing about this. This is a pro tip, is that when you're talking to people about how they're going to approve things, it naturally starts the conversation towards, hey, we're already going to be working together. Let's talk about the approval process. Let's start talking about how we can be working together. It's a really great mindset shift in your conversation with your clients. I think you'll really get a kick out of it. Okay, so we understand their procurement process. We understand how they do approvals. Very, very important. Let's jump into formatting, okay? Because formatting is where people get weird. Because a lot of people, just like resumes, they will continue to use documentation from previous jobs. They'll use techniques they learned from previous jobs. Hey, this is the right way to write a proposal. This is how we did it at this big company I was at, so this is how I'm going to do it at my solo company. Again, just like resumes, there's no rules to these things. Yes, there's some expectations, but we can format these things in a way where they are much better off for our clients, okay? Number one, keep it clean and professional. In using a lot of white space, don't cram stuff together. Use more pages if necessary. Don't try to make, I want to fit this onto 2 pages like the whole resume thing. Simple and consistent fonts. I wouldn't use more than 2 fonts throughout an entire presentation or proposal. And then make sure you're incorporating your brand into the proposal so it makes sure it's standing out from maybe other competitors or other people that they are reviewing as part of it. We also want to make sure it's readable on all devices. Okay. I can't tell you how many times I've sent a proposal to someone and they pull it up. Then what are they doing? They're pulling it up on their phone. And I have designed this thing and I spent all this time making it very desktop friendly because that's how I built the thing. But I would definitely make sure that when you are crafting your proposals, open it up on your phone and take a look at it and see how easy it is to read. I'm telling you, this one tip right here, it can save you so much heartache, and it could get you a response that they like it, don't like it, whichever, very, very quickly, because they're on their phone. These are busy clients, right? They're running down the tarmac, right? Buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. And what proposal? Let me look at it. They pull it up on their phone and I can't read it. I'll read it later. And then guess what? They don't. Okay. So, and then using visuals very sparingly. It's okay to use visuals, and I will talk a little bit more about that when I show an example document here. And then interactive elements. Now, again, most people, and I have been guilty of this for a long time, is that you assume these are going to be printed. Majority of these, 2/3 of your proposals will never be printed. So putting links to things, putting live email addresses, all these different ways of contacting you, of seeing more work or seeing other documents or other things works out great. So make sure that you are spending some time, making sure that it is a clickable document. It should be interactive. And I'm telling you, like, especially because they're going to be on their phones. Okay. And then ensuring the compatibility, PDF is great. Again, if you're working with someone in a procurement process, you might have to send it in a Microsoft Word format. But again, that won't be a big deal because you've asked them all these questions already up front, haven't you? Yeah, you did. Yeah. And then when in doubt, ask. The ask the clients how they prefer to be formatted. I've had very big success from asking clients, can you share an old proposal with me from maybe the previous vendor or someone? You can scrub out the cost and all that stuff if you want, but I'd love to see what they've used before. And you'd be surprised at how often they'll share with you these things, and you can pick up a lot of great tips on specifically working with that client, but also for future stuff. So that's good. So we want to focus on the work for our contract, not the legalese. I think it's really important that we're doing that. So we want to keep the legalese separate from the proposal as much as possible, like an MSA. A lot of times I see proposals that include the master services agreement and all the language within that. It's not a smart move. So usually the way that I like to work is that you send out an NDA, you get the NDA taken place. That's one contract. Because again, what we're doing is we're building blocks towards an approval with the client. So we're building these blocks in a way that is, here, sign the NDA. So we got the non-disclosure taken care of. It looks like you want a proposal. As part of our proposal process, and this is key, you want to tell them what your policy is. This is something that I learned very long ago from a few very smart salespeople. Instead of saying, I'd like it this way, you want to say, this is our policy. This is our policy. So in order to start the estimation process, it's our policy to have an MSA in place. Is that okay? Can we do that? Again, you're building these steps towards closing and building a business partnership with that client. So if we can build and we can get that MSA taken care of, well, great. And that MSA will have all the legalese, who owns what, who can sue who, all those different things. And then, we can focus on all the weird legal stuff that happens during that process instead of after we've sent a proposal and have to worry about that. And the other thing is keeping the proposal very client focused. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen proposals where it opens up and it's like, so, our business started by my grandfather in a garage 40 years ago, and we've been doing this and that. Like, you've immediately lost me and you immediately lost your client. We want to start with talking about what their problems are, and we want to keep it focused on them. We want to talk about ourselves as little as possible or as late as possible in the document. Okay. Let's talk about structuring the proposal. Okay. We're going to start with a summary. For those of you here, you're probably not, it's probably not rocket science to think about that. But we want to start with a summary that is talking about what is the problem we solved. Now, one tip I'll tell you is starting with a future statement in some cases, right? So where it is, imagine a world where where you have no worries about security for your website ever again, and then go into the summary. So, or imagine a future where you never have to worry about where your next executive hire is going to come from. And then we go into the summary. This is what we heard. This is what you told us. This is what our proposal is. This is what our solution is going to be. And this is how we're going to solve that problem for you. Again, we're not sitting there talking about how great we are and all the different things that we do. The other thing is get the price and the timeline right up front. Okay. Do not save it to the end of the document, because especially there's a couple of reasons why. The number one reason why is because if there's a problem with it, if there's a problem with the price, if there's a problem with the timeline, I want to know about it right away. I don't want them to have to scroll through all this stuff. I want them to see what the investment is, and the timeline is going to be right up front. Second reason why this is important is because they are probably going to share it with someone in their organization who you've never met and you haven't been able to sell. They don't know how great you are, and they have to give this off to their CFO or their procurement team or somebody who doesn't know you from anybody. And you want them to understand what the price is and what those things are right away, because that's why they're being handed that document. They're usually not being handed a document because they're like, oh, can you check and see if the details here are correct? That's usually done during the discovery phase. The only reason this person is going to hand off the document is to have somebody either review or approve the budget and timeline. So best to just have it right up front so people don't have to waste time and move around. And you should be proud of your price. Okay? You should be proud of what you're charging. Yeah, because you deserve it. Okay. Detailed work and deliverables. Clearly outline the work, the deliverables, and what the client needs to provide. And I will talk in a little bit more depth about that here in a second. The assumptions. We want to include assumptions that we've made throughout this process. So an assumption might be is that the client has all their branding together. They've got all their branding in one place. They're all excited. And they can get you all this stuff, and they can get you it in a timely manner. Another assumption might be is that any employee handbooks or things or documentation is easily available, and they can be providing it. So there will be lots of times where you're working with your client where they might be making promises for other departments or other people that are going to provide things for their project, and you need to, unless you have got the word directly from that department, maybe it's the marketing department or somebody else, make sure you include an assumption in there that assumes that HR will provide all this documents that you need in order to be successful. We want to include that stuff because it's a great way to help the client understand how important that stuff is, because they might just think like, well, yeah, I'll just go and get it, and no big deal. And then they find out it is a big deal, and then it derails your whole project. If you put those assumptions in earlier, it's going to get the client to think harder and longer about what do they need to have to be prepared to be successful. Okay. All right. We're almost halfway through. I want to make sure, I heard a story that the like button makes a big noise down there if you hit that. Can anybody confirm that and let me know if that's the case? I want to just see if anybody falls for that. Okay, moving on. All right. Collaborating on the proposal. This is a key unlock to partnerships. It's really important. The goal is not to build a proposal in a bubble. The goal is that you're creating a draft of the proposal that you're working on with the client. You're sharing the document with them, and you're saying, "Hey, we're starting on the proposal. This is everything we've got so far. I would love to have you get in and review it. There's no price, there's no timeline, there's no nothing as a part of it, but it starts to get all the documentation down there. So it's really important that you share it with the client. I guarantee you, the more the client helps you craft the proposal themselves, the better chance you got to win it. It's just the bottom line, because the client can help do that. And then we need to set clear deadlines for proposal acceptance. This is another thing that I see people miss constantly, is that they send the proposal and the client says, "Great, yeah, I'll look at it and I will get back at you next week." Okay. And then you wait and they're like, "Oh, sorry, I got busy. Yeah. No, I'm setting up a meeting with the CFO and we're going to look at it on Friday." And then you're like, hello. Set a deadline and put it in the proposal, put it in the email that you send to people, and make sure that you are checking with them and saying, "Hey, just so you know, that 30 days this proposal expires and we need to reset, and prices may change and timelines may change." Make sure you're setting that deadline. It's really important, folks. Okay. All right. I want to talk through some of the bonus content here for just 1 second. But uh, back to the idea of of writing that proposal out. Okay, I want to share with you something here. I'm going to pull it up real quick. To you who work in marketing, I'm sure you've heard of this already. Let me share my screen, and what I want to talk about is there's this book. It's called Story Brand, and it's if you are a business owner and you have to write proposals or different things like that, I promise you, read this book. It's such a great introduction to how to write a clear story and narrative, because that's what your proposal needs to be. It needs to tell the story about how I am solving your problem. And they've got a pretty easy sort of 7-step process here to how to be better at working and writing any kind of narrative that you need to do. It can help with your websites, it can help with your messaging. It's just a great thing. He's got also a pricey course and things you can do, but read the book. Okay. Cannot express it enough. This reading books about how to write better stories is one of the best things I ever did to help me write better proposals, because I understood the story that I was trying to tell the client and trying to walk them through. Again, more importantly, because there's many times where that proposal is getting handed off to team members to look at and review, and it's the first time they've ever seen it. They don't know nothing. So if you could be telling a great story about what the future looks like, why they're hiring you, what the cost is going to be, how you're going to solve their problem, and what those outcomes and results are going to be, it's very clear for anybody that's an influencer to the proposal is going to make sure that it's it's a big deal. I can't tell you enough what a big deal it can actually be. Okay, let's move on to our next thing here. All right, invoicing. Okay, so once we've sent out our first invoice, we've got a proposal signed. I know I'm skipping way ahead, but this, just as I talk and think about proposals, the more I think about them, the more I think about what happens in the future once the proposal is signed, and then what do we do? And this is a place where people get a little messy. Okay, so invoices coming up. We want to send an email reminder saying, "Hey, just as a reminder, you're going to be seeing an invoice here in the next week, in the next 3 days, whatever the case may be." And the next thing is the invoice is due. We want to call them. I know. Use the phone. No, don't make me use the phone, Kurt. Do you want to get paid? Do you? Okay, pick up the phone. Call them. "Hey, just as a reminder, I just sent out the invoice. Let me know if you have any questions about it." And then if it's 5 days late, we want to call with a stop work warning. We want to say, "Hey, the proposal's been due. It's past due 5 days. I'm just letting you know that if it continues, we're going to have to stop work in the next 10 days. And then we follow up with a call and an email letting them know that work is stopped and that work won't be continuing. Okay. And then if it's 30 days late, we want to send them an email with a termination warning, letting them know that we are going to be terminating our MSA and terminating our engagement with them. And then if it goes past 60 days, that's where you got to get a lawyer involved and have them send that email term or that termination letter. Please listen to me now. If it gets to the point where you're at 60 days late with somebody, pay a lawyer $100 or whatever the case may be. Have them send the letter. It makes a huge difference. Remember, people buy emotionally. Okay? People pay emotionally. You get a letter from a lawyer saying you owe this money, you're more inclined to pay it than that person that you've had that great, sort of, hey, finger guns relationship for the last 6 months or so. So I wanted to include this in here because I think it's really important that you put all this work into your proposals. You try to make them as best as they can be, and then somebody doesn't pay you. And that's why we want to be on them about this stuff. And I see too many people leave this sort of go on too long or let it run too long. And I've even taken this list and put it in the proposal saying this is what you can expect if things are late, or I put it in the MSA or something like that. This is what will happen. So it's not a surprise and it works out good. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about here is just kind of recapping some of the things that we talked about. Is that it's more than writing the right content. We want to focus on the client and structuring the proposal clearly. Okay. So let's look here quickly at a document that I have created to share with folks. If you are interested, I will put a link to this document in the chat after I am done with the thing. If you're interested, put a 1 in the chat. Okay. If you're interested in getting a copy of this proposal template, put a 1 in the chat for me. So I know that you're interested. Okay. So let's take a quick look here. And we're starting off with the project overview. Thank you for participating. This document outlines all these other things. It will meet deliver based. So again, I just put some dummy stuff in here, but my hope is that you are taking ideas from StoryBrand and you are putting them together in a way that is telling the story here of what the project is or the proposal. It could be proposal. It doesn't have to be project. The next is a summary of goals. And then we've got this project aims, and we'll work collaboratively. So the goals, so the outcomes, that's what we want here, is to summarize what the outcomes of the thing is. And then we go right into price and timeline. So if you are putting together this proposal in a way that you understand what the outcomes are they expect right away, because again, it allows the client right here to look at the same time with the summary and the pricing timeline all together. So because then to the client, it looks like here's the goal I want and here's the cost of solving that problem. And it's nice and tidy. It's all packaged together. Okay. And then here's the deliverables or outcomes that'll be provided. Here's some of the assumptions, right? I put I stubbed in some ones here as well. So there is, the client has access to all the necessary systems, and the clients will provide feedback and all of those sorts of things. And then next is what I like is optional is meet the team. So if you have a team of people working on this, including who those people are and what they're going to be doing and what their role is great. Again, this is a great way to continue to build trust with folks. And then the next is, we got their next steps and agreements. This is what's going to happen next. Once you sign this, this is what's going to happen next. And then optional, again, this is the signature section. I know why did I put this in as optional? Well, because again, the initial view of this proposal um, should not be new to them. So we want this proposal to go over first before they can sign it. And then here's procurement specific. Man, a lot of speaking events today. Okay. Next is specific documentation. So we're happy to adapt this proposal to align with those needs or whatever your procurement is. Let's get started. This is where you could talk about yourself a little bit faster and awesome and how great you are and all those things. Again, back to this part about, I love having a little thing in here about meet the team, who you're going to be working with. Now, I know you probably got a few resource people that the idea of calling out who the team is going to be is probably going to make them feel a little crazy. Uh, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Like I know you don't want to, in certain agencies, dedicate a person towards something, but if you're trying to win a very large project, you've got to do what you can to introduce the client to the team they're going to be working with on that project as early as possible and continue to have them as a thread throughout the project. If you stage it and you set up the expectations correctly, you shouldn't have too much trouble keeping that person busy on the project, because if the client isn't paying or they're not getting the work done, you've set all the assumptions, you've set all the things correctly. It shouldn't be that big of a deal to be able to keep that person struggling. And if you find that your business is struggling to do that, well, I know a coach. I know a coach who can help you with those exact problems. And he's right here. His name's Kurt. Okay. So moving back on. So the bonus section here, like I mentioned, I've got links that I will be including after the episode to this template that might be helpful for folks. Again, if you have very special needs and you want to walk through the challenges you might have with the template, I would love to talk with you about it. No big deal, and the issue here again is making sure that this is an outline. Okay, not every proposal is going to be the same, but please, for the love of God, stop making proposals about you and start making them about the client. Start making them about the solution. Start making them about the impact the work is going to have. Because people don't buy services, they don't buy products. They are buying solutions to problems. Okay? People are buying solutions to problems. So, excuse me. Oh, this is where this big giant water bottle will come in handy. Excuse me for 1 second. Oh, yeah. Big giant water bottle. Everybody's got to get them. If you are not being clear about what issue you are solving and what the impact of that issue is going to be, any proposal template or thing is not going to help you. Okay, because I could write on a napkin to someone and say, I can get you $1 million if you hire me for $10,000, and hand it to them and be like, that's an easy investment. We want to make it clear, not just in the proposal, but even on your website and all these other things, that it's going to cost them more money not to hire you. I mean, that's the best case scenario, right? Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Okay. Lastly, if you have questions or comments, I did have one of my friends, Mr. Tickner, chime in and said a really good tip is that instead of sending a personal email message about issues with billing or accounting things, that he has accounting at his domain send the email. So it sounds even more fancy. So back to my point about, having a lawyer send a thing, if you could set up an email address and even if you're a solopreneur, Just send an email address that says accounting at blah blah blah, and have that send the invoicing and emails. Um, Again, I can't tell you how many times that clients just needed to hear it from somebody else, because the only thing they're hearing from you is the same thing over and over again, which is project work, project work, project work, requirements, requirements, deliverables, deliverables, timelines, timelines. And that becomes a lot in a relationship when you're only trying to intake so much from working with these folks alongside my full-time job I'm working on after I hired you. So if we can um, send it in a new way, like a different email address that's making requests, that's a great pro tip. Thanks, Tony, for sending that over. I really appreciate it. If you don't have any questions right now, but you want to reach out and you want to talk about the proposal process and how you can improve it, it's a great way for me to start working with a lot of clients, and I really enjoy working on that side of the thing, and the sales and marketing side. So I appreciate if you reach out, even if you just got quick questions. I think it's great. The next sneak peek is going to be for the next webinar is going to be how to start a business podcast. And maybe you're not necessarily interested in starting a business podcast, but I guarantee you there will be tips and tricks and things in here about how you're marketing content in general that will be helpful for you. So, but I get a lot of requests. I get a lot of people asking about how to start a business podcast. Why should I start a business podcast? And even if your plan is you're just podcast curious right now, maybe just curious, it's cool. Just show up, and maybe you can see if it's right for you. Maybe the once you go through the process, you're like, oh, that looks pretty good. Maybe I will do that. Um, the last thing I'm going to bring up is the Solo Club, which I launched this fall. It is a private LinkedIn group for solopreneurs and independent business owners. It's a private group where we can share tips and referrals and different things. Um, and the goal is that we're building a community around people. And again, if you have employees but you're a solo business person, you are welcome. Okay, you don't have to be just a single employee company. But if you are running a business by yourself, I've joined this small group, and it's free. It's a private LinkedIn group. And what I expect is people to share what they do, how they do it, find referrals, share tips and information and tools on ways that they can grow their business. And then I'm also launching a peer advisory group outside of that for people that want to move to a more formal sort of approach. And that Solo Club is going to be a paid peer advisory group that we're going to meet a couple times a month and go through things that maybe your business needs in order to improve. And then you can work with other people the same. So each cohort would be about 5 people in size. So thank you everyone again for joining me today. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me that you took time out of your day to spend with me. I really hope it was valuable for you. If you're watching this on a replay, make sure you like, share things, and all the other buttons. Remember what I said earlier? The all the like buttons, they make loud noises. It's crazy. You should try it. It's really good. I don't know how they did it. Let's just see if anybody falls for that. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Follow me for more, and we'll see you next time. Okay. All right. Have a good rest of your evening or day or Friday. What day is it? All right. Have a good one.